Judgment and curiosity can't hang out together. They can't coexist. So when we come at these obstacles with curiosity, instead of judging, we open ourselves up to asking better questions. And then we can really uncover the things that are holding us back. And then we can start to show up with kindness, compassion, empathy. Like if your best friend was terrified about doing live stream, would you be like, well, just get over it. Just go do it. Just suck it up. Like we never do that, right? We never do that.
Welcome to the Impact-Driven Entrepreneur, the podcast that helps you expand your reach and convert that reach into clients so you can lead your tribe with confidence and create change in the world while living the life you desire. And now your host, certified business coach and consultant, Mariana Ruiz.
Want to increase your sales without so much hustle? Oh my gosh. Let's talk about doing funnels. Funnels are like the thing right now, but whether it's challenge, a tripwire, a webinar, or even getting people on the phone, guess what? All of that is the same. It's a sales process and what some people call funnels, okay? And I want to help you with your sales process because here's the thing. When you can really master and improve that process, you will get more sales in your business. Normally inside of my 6-month coaching program, what I do is I actually look at everything that my clients do. I look at all of their copy, all of their emails, everything that they're doing inside of a launch or outside of a launch. And really, I want to bring that element to a small intensive for you. So what I want to do is offer you the opportunity for me to look at all of your emails, all of your copy, whether it's a challenge, a funnel, a webinar, or a sales call. I will actually listen to your sales call. Yeah, you heard that right. Okay, so in order to get this amazing offer, it's called a funnel intensive. You can find it at impactdrivenentrepreneur.com/work-with-me. You can purchase there right away, or if you want to get on the phone and just make sure it's a good fit for both of us, I'd be happy to chat with you. Let's optimize that sales process so that you can start generating more sales in your business without the grind. Welcome back to the Impact-Driven Entrepreneur. Today, I have the amazing Lisa Carpenter here with us, and we're going to be talking about her journey. We're going to be talking about all things business as well as some self-care stuff, which is her amazing secret sauce. So let's tell us a little bit about how you got started and kind of like what you do, because I love that you embody all aspects of who you are in your brand. And I think that's really important.
Oh my gosh. I say all the time, I think I've got like this messy brand. And then other people will say, no, it's not. It totally makes sense to me. So it's always our perspective. So, I typically work with, I call them super achieving women. Like they're high performers. They're often very hard on themselves. They've created amazing success for themselves, yet never actually feel successful. They're always kind of chasing fulfillment. And quite often, one of the gateways that people find me is because they're not feeling super amazing in their bodies, right? So they don't want to get on camera. They don't want to go to a speaking event, or they don't want to go to a live event, or they, God forbid, they have to have pictures taken, right? This is some of the stuff that the entrepreneurs that I work with deal with. But in terms of, my background, I'm almost 2 decades in, which completely blows my mind, right? Like we accomplish so much when we actually pause and look back and go, wow, 2 decades. But I started out as a personal trainer. My dad said to me, are you going to get a real job one day? I was like, I'll show you. And really grew my personal training business. And from there, my interest in nutrition grew, because it doesn't matter how much you work out, ladies. Like it doesn't matter how much you work out. Unless you pay attention to what you're actually putting in your body, not much changes. And we put so much emphasis on exercise. And yes, we need to be moving our bodies, but we have to eat every single day until the day we die. Yet that's the thing that most people are like, I don't want to look at that. Or they've got so much baggage around what eating healthy means, or they've tied up eating, like what they're putting into their bodies, with their self-worth or their body image, right? So eating healthy is only something you do to lose weight or, change how your body looks, which how you eat actually impacts how you perform in your business, in your life, etc. So my business kind of evolved from personal training into nutrition. I started competing in fitness and figure competitions back in the day because I learn best by getting my hands dirty. I'm very much a kinesthetic learner. If I have to sit with my nose in a book, I want to slip my wrist. I have to do things. I have to touch things. And so I learned a lot about nutrition. And of course, I took a lot of courses and got a bunch of certifications and really started building out, a program, which is now my signature program, E.A.T, which stands for Education, Action, Transformation, to help women take the principles around how you can eat to transform your body, but also your ability to choose and create your own framework around that. So there's so many people out there that, here's the plan, follow the plan. Whereas I'm the black sheep because I'm like, I'm not giving you a plan. I actually want you to take radical responsibility for your choices and release judgment, guilt, and shame around this. So that program kind of, grew, and I moved it online about 4 years ago now. I'm going into my 4th year online. And during that time, my work evolved even more when I found out that my husband was wrestling with addiction. So, I'm going to try and nutshell this story because it really isn't about him. But, he went off to rehab. I was left with my preteen sons and my 6-month-old baby at the time, wondering WTF just happened to my life, running my business and completely being taken out at the knees, wondering how my relationship was going to survive. And I was told that relationships in recovery rarely work, which was devastating for me. So I took my I'll show you attitude and really dove into what I thought was going to be fixing my addict so I could save my relationship. And I say that tongue in cheek because it's never about fixing the addict. In fact, it wasn't about him at all. I really came face to face with my own BS and the role that I was playing in the relationship and my own addictions. And when I say my own addictions, it was the behaviors in my life where the volume was so turned up, they were masking who I really was and how I felt. So some people use drugs, alcohol, food, sex, shopping to numb their feelings. And many of us also use behaviors like control, caretaking, people pleasing, attention seeking, approval seeking, to numb how we're feeling, right? How many times have you said yes when you really wanted to say no, but you were so uncomfortable saying no because you didn't want the person to like you, or what would they think? So that really started my journey around unraveling those behaviors in my life. And the irony of it all was the deeper I went into this kind of lesson in addiction that I'd never asked for, I realized very quickly that my E.A.T program, I'd basically been building out a recovery plan for people who really struggle with their relationship with food, right? And you don't have to be a traditional addict in the sense that, in terms of a food addiction, but it is a numbing behavior. We use food to numb, and addiction is all about how can we numb out what we're feeling. So I was able to take all of that information and learning and, tears and tantrums, because I spent over a year with therapy and coaches and literally like being stripped down, like so raw and so vulnerable. And I was, a control freak who had it all together and, never let them see you sweat, right? Mm-hmm. And I was able to pull that all into my programs and all of a sudden see things through such a different perspective. And that is how my work has continued to deepen. So although food and nutrition is still one of the avenues that people come to work with me, many of the one-to-one clients I have, food is a piece of it, but it's really, how they're striving and their perfectionism and how that is getting in the way of them ever feeling fulfilled, successful, happy. And they're still kind of shooting all over themselves in terms of, well, how can I have this? But, I should be there by now, or I should be able to eat healthy, or I should be able to have all the clients, or I should be able to have all the money in the bank. And I help them unravel all of that stuff so they can actually be who they are without the BS and really feel fulfilled and happy and successful in their lives, their businesses, their bodies, their relationship, wherever their kind of their Achilles heel is, so to speak. So that is, a very small nutshell of my 2-decade story.
Wow, that is so incredible. And I love how you took your life journey and not only used it, with building out your program, but like that rawness and that vulnerability became part of your brand, right? Like I find that right now, especially like this is the new way of running the business is like showing that imperfect side. And I've been playing around with it because when you described overachiever, I was like, yep, check on all those all those avenues. And all my listeners know that about me because every year around New Year's, I do my like review, and it's usually I'm pretty hard on myself. But I think it's interesting because what I'm finding now, and I don't know if you would agree with me on that, right? But that vulnerability and that sharing openly is so much more satisfying, and also so much of what business and sharing online is moving towards. Would you agree with me on that? Or like, what are your thoughts on that?
I do. And here's what I'll say to that. Because I see, I want people to be more open and more vulnerable, and authentic, which I know a lot of people use that word, but it's so, so important though, that we give ourselves so as overachievers, as, controllers, it's not comfortable to share vulnerably. Mm-hmm. And I think it's really, really important that we give ourselves a safe space and a safe container to practice that, because sometimes we can be opening up to the public about stuff that we haven't even really fully processed ourselves. So, if you had talked to me 6 or 7 years ago, I didn't know what I didn't know. I didn't know what I didn't know. So there was a lot of deep diving and soul searching that I had to do, and a lot of tears and tantrums and, resistance on my part to get under the things that were holding me back. So I think we can all show up more vulnerably, but we also have to be willing to find that space where we can truly go deep with ourselves before we're just kind of opening our guts up online. Because if we haven't embodied these new behaviors and these new ways of thinking and feeling about ourselves, they can dig us deeper into the trenches. So if I had tried to put my book out there long before this, I wouldn't have been ready, because one person criticizing me would have shut me down. Mm-hmm. So we really have to give ourselves time and space. So, there's no personal growth quite like being an entrepreneur. But this is why, I always make sure that I have a coach on my team, because it's not the strategies that I need more of. Like, we are all smart businesswomen, right? We actually really know what we need to do. It's not rocket science building a business, just like eating healthy is not rocket science. The hard work really comes from the willingness to get introspective and to really focus on our thoughts and feelings, beliefs and behaviors. So share online, share vulnerably, open yourself up, but make sure that you really do have a space that's private for you, where you can go even deeper. And what one of my coaches says, and I believe the same thing, is share the scar, not the wound. So I can share my story through addiction, and I can go even deeper into that. And I have no shame. I have, like, if somebody judges me on, like, I don't care. Like, I own my story because I did the work, that it's now a scar and it's beautiful and I appreciate it and I'm grateful for it. But there's no way on God's green earth I would have shared that when I was in it. Because when I was in it, I needed to have that container where the only person I was focused on healing was me. I didn't need to share that with the open world yet. So just be really, I don't want to say be careful, but really check in with yourselves around your intention. Because if you're sharing vulnerably just because you want to grow your tribe, are you really honoring what you need for your personal growth? Because the message may very well be a heck of a lot more powerful once you've really processed it and embodied the things that you're learning.
Yeah.
So hopefully that makes sense.
That is really good. And I love the scar analogy. I've heard of that too. And I love it. I also think if you're doing it with the intention of growing your tribe versus like either making a real connection or sharing a real lesson, it's a little, I would hate to say it, but like almost like manipulative versus like sharing from the heart.
Yeah.
And there's a difference with those two.
Yeah.
For sure.
Like I'm really trying to share as best as I can with my tribe kind of what's going on behind the scenes for me as I launch this book, because, it's exciting, right? Like it's exciting and, oh my gosh, I did this thing and I'm putting myself out into the world, but I'm also sharing with them like, okay, I've been triggered around having to share my credentials because it's bringing up the old beliefs that, well, they're not good enough, but they are good enough, right? So really kind of embodying those type of things, right? Looking at my old triggers. Like I said to you, writing the book was one thing, but now realizing, oh my gosh, people are going to read it. So getting honest with my people around how I've struggled with judgment of myself first, right? Because we always think we're afraid of other people judging us, but it's not. We are in such deep self-judgment. So sharing on those things, but those are things that I've been working on for years. So they're not, although they're triggers for me.
In a new situation, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Like I just get to go deeper with the lesson.
Yeah.
Whereas it's not like, okay, I've never experienced this before and I'm like losing my mind. There was something I read from Danielle Laporte, and this was years ago, and I've never been able to locate it again. And it was so powerful, but it was about the entrepreneurial journey is about growing our spiritual wings. And when we have strong enough wings, that will be what lifts us into the next level of business. And I couldn't be here until now because of the depth of work I needed to do on myself as an individual in order for my business to grow and soar and for me to put myself out there. And I see so many entrepreneurs wanting to be there. But the truth is, like, they have to embrace the process and the journey because their personal growth is what's going to create the massive business success they want, right? We have to be willing to hold that container for ourselves.
Yeah, that is so powerful. So if somebody is either, okay, like let's say they're either newer in business, most of our listeners are a few years in, right? 1 to 3 years, I would say. Let's say they're newer in business. They have learned the tactics. And I just laugh at that.
Right, I get it.
So they've learned the things, and then now they're like, okay, I'm hitting these roadblocks, meaning like my fear and my fear of shame and my fear of embarrassment and all of that is really blocking them from actually showing up or from sharing any sort of message that's more than just like Googleable, right? I actually said that today in a live. So
that's amazing.
Like, share something that's not Googleable, right? So like,
yeah.
What can you say to like somebody who's at that level, like to start getting into this and really like, how do you even become self-aware of that?
Okay. My first suggestion is to find the right coach to support you through that. So it might be time to hit the pause on the business strategist and say, wow, actually, this isn't about my business. This is about me. And there's layers here that I have to work through with me. So for instance, I have a client right now who's doing amazing things in business. We connected about a year ago. And she came back to me and she's like, you know what? I'm ready to work on me now because I know that I am the thing holding me back in my life. And, there was a whole bunch of different things she was working on. And recently she just did the big scary thing of releasing a long-term client of hers. And she'd been holding on to this client for a long time because she didn't want to let them down. She felt bad, like saying that she wanted her own business and such. So it's getting to that place where you understand that you're not going to move further ahead in business unless you actually start paying attention to what's going on for you. So look for, a coach that is either like an executive business coach that can give you the business coaching, but the life coaching as well. And like me and my own coach say, if you're spending more than 20% on strategy, something is off because it's never about the strategy. And have the courage to start digging into the things that are holding you back. So it just starts with, it starts with a healthy dose of curiosity. So instead of judging yourself that you don't want to do a live stream, be curious about why you don't want to do a live stream. So judgment and curiosity can't hang out together. They can't coexist. So when we come at these obstacles with curiosity, instead of judging, we open ourselves up to asking better questions. And then we can really uncover the things that are holding us back. And then we can start to show up with kindness, compassion, empathy. Like if your best friend was terrified about doing live stream, would you be like, well, just get over it. Just go do it. Just suck it up. Like we never do that, right? We never do that. If we have kids, right, and they've hurt themselves and they're feeling like super wounded or battered or bruised or whatever because they fell off their bike, we wouldn't be like, just get up and suck it up. We would like let them cry a little bit and feel that feeling. And then we'd be like, okay, you got this. You can try again. If we just showed up with that level of compassion and kindness for ourselves in business, we would accomplish so much more. We have to stop being so hard on ourselves. Like that is what stops us dead in our tracks. And I am preaching from a place of knowing, like these are things that I've had a lifetime of stripping down. So it's painful. It's messy. I'm very transparent that I practice what I preach and I am in the trenches with my clients. I'm not some guru standing on the mountain like I've got this figured out. This has been a brutally messy and emotional journey for me. And I fought it every step of the way until I surrendered and just said, okay, like my life, my relationship, my ability to be an effective and loving parent hinges on me having the best relationship I can with myself. And I have to stop being an a-hole to me. Like that's what it comes down to.
Yeah, I totally agree. For me, like last year, I shared in a previous podcast, one of my number one lessons was I was making myself wrong about everything.
Oh my God, right?
I mean, it was so horrible. I mean, like one post didn't do well and it was like, oh, well, it's because the copy was off and you didn't use a captivating enough headline and, like all this crazy, I mean, like literally that's not healthy. Right. And I had, these messages from the universe where like my mentor, my coach at a live event, and somebody else, I think it was like something else I was randomly watching, all said that same message, like stop making yourself wrong in like a week span. And I was like, okay, I got it. Like, right. This is my thing. Right. And so I think also, and if anyone's listening and they're like not woo-woo and are like, oh my God, is that just a coincidence? Right. Like, but actually opening your ears to stuff like that maybe it is a sign if you're getting multiple messages that are the same.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I would even add to that, I think we have to stop trying so hard. Like, stop trying so hard. Stop trying so hard to get the engagement. Stop trying so hard to make the right PDF. Stop trying so hard to grow your business and just start showing up and do you and be kind. You can't get this right or wrong. Like you cannot get your life right or wrong. So even when the worst of the worst is happening, right? Like when I was handed that crap sandwich around addiction, that was like the worst thing that could have happened in my life at that moment. And that was actually the biggest blessing and gift I've ever been given in my life. So we cannot get things wrong. We have to trust that the universe is giving us exactly what we need when we need it, and that everything we want wants us, but it may not look the way we think it's going to be. So I had always wanted this like deep connected relationship with a partner, like, the guy that you look across the room and you just know they're thinking the same thing that you are, and you're just like deeply soully connected. That is the way my relationship is now. I just didn't realize that to have that relationship meant walking through hell to create it. But it was worth every tear and tantrum and, all the fears, all the doubt, all the like WTF moments. Like we have a phenomenal relationship because he went to work on himself. I went to work on myself. And now together we've created this amazing family unit. So we have to let the universe do its job, like woo-woo or not. Like the belief that you're controlling the outcome of everything is flawed. I know that I thought I was controlling everything. So flawed, because clearly when that happened, I realized I had control of nothing. And that was scary, scary stuff.
I totally love that. And so you're still with your partner and it's better.
Yeah, he's been in recovery for 6 years now at the end of January. Obviously addiction recovery from codependency is a huge part of our story and my work. And yeah, we have an amazing life together. And that's not just lip service, but we work at it. We each work on ourselves. Like, I continue to work with coaches, and he continues to do the stuff that he needs to do to be the best version of himself. And we parent in a different way as well.
Wow, that's amazing. I love that story. Tell us a little bit about your book and how is this, when you said about the pictures, I just laughed. I postponed my pictures for forever. So tell us a little bit about your book. Is it more around the eating? What is that about?
So all my programs, Eat, Feelings and Food, 10 Days of You, these are all programs that, I taught. Well, Eat started offline and then I moved it online. And then the other two programs grew out of that. And, the depth of wisdom I kind of wanted to bring to my tribe. And then, as I've said, over the past couple of years, I've been stepping into working with a different kind of level of client. And I like to say my business pivoted, but it really didn't. I just opened up other gateways for people to work with me. And I started partnering with different business strategists because they needed someone like me to come into their business to support their clients, the emotional stuff, because strategists tend to want to take people by the shoulders and say, just do the thing. Right. And then they get frustrated that their clients aren't doing the thing. And I come in and say, okay, let's really take a look at what the resistance is and kind of break it down. So the decision to write the book was about, how can I take all the work I've been doing for the past 2 decades and pull it together in a way that gives people a comfortable gateway to explore what I do without having to jump into one of my programs. Because where my programs are different, I don't give people a meal plan. And people don't want to hear in marketing that they have to learn. They want how do I get from point A to point B? So I'm an amazing coach. I am not a super awesome marketer. And I think that we need to always step back. And of course we can learn to market better in our message and all that stuff. But so the book for me was a way of marketing in a much gentler way to people who really are curious about my work, but aren't necessarily ready to hop into one of my programs. So we pulled together all these resources to give everything people need, from the mindset and the emotional, what is your relationship with food? What is your relationship with your body? How do you want to think and feel about yourself? Why have you struggled to lose weight? Because it's the same thing as, if you haven't pushed that go live button, it's not your inability to push the button that's stopping you, right? If you've lost weight and gained it back 1 million times, or just really struggle with food, it's not the food that's the problem. It's your beliefs about your body and about food that are keeping you stuck. So the book has a ton of mindset work around it. And I like to call it stripping back the beliefs that you have, creating curiosity, and getting you to see the truth, where you're operating from, because our beliefs always create our actions. So whatever we believe about ourselves, our actions will reflect that. So when we shift our beliefs, our actions change. So there's a lot of that in it. And then I've also brought in the EAT framework, which is, how do you work with different foods so that you get to choose what you're eating? No judgment, no shame, no guilt, but in a way that, if you want to transform your body, you're still able to do that. And if you want to have a donut along the journey, you can do that too. And you haven't been bad and you haven't ruined anything. It's just a choice. So that's kind of what the book is all about. And then we've put together a huge resource section, my team and I, to support the book, where I've even pulled pieces from my programs to even take the learning deeper. So the stuff that's in the book, and then how can we even go deeper with this? So it was my way of kind of creating a legacy for it as my work continues to transform. So it's always going to be a tool in my toolbox. And I think this is something that entrepreneurs need to understand. We're allowed to pivot and change and grow and work with different people and add new things on. We don't need to burn down everything we've done in the past. And this has been my job, is how can I honor all my work? How can I create some sort of closure around it? How can I still give people gateways to work with me and also stay in alignment with the people that I really want to be working with one-to-one? So there's people that are going to read the book. That's going to be enough for them. There's going to be people that read the book that then want to take the courses. And there's going to be people that want to work with me one-to-one. The gateway is going to be available to all of them, regardless of where they're at. That's what my work is about, is meeting people where they're at and helping them kind of move through the process. So it feels kind of messy and eclectic to me, but the truth is my whole message is about this notion of full frontal living. And full frontal living is no longer using, for the most part, we're human, we're not perfect, but not using numbing behaviors to not feel our feelings. So whether it's food, drugs, alcohol, being busy all the time, perfectionism, caretaking, people pleasing, whatever it may be for you, over shopping, right? Some people spend money like water, and that can be a numbing activity as well. It's about getting curious about those behaviors in your life. So whatever gateway people find me, it all comes back to the same thing, is how can I help you get grounded into how truly valuable you are, your self-worth, because it has nothing to do with what you accomplish in this life or how your body looks. Mm-hmm. None of that matters.
Love that. Oh my God. And can I just say, that's how I see it, right? Is the book is you being able to make an impact with a lot more people.
Yes.
There are people that would not be able to afford one of the programs, but they can get the book, right? And they can still have that transformation and that beautiful gift of the self-love and the worthiness and getting to work on themselves. And also, in a way too, priming them, right? So that when they are working with you one-on-one, they've done some of the work, meaning you're not starting at zero every time with a one-on-one client.
No.
So I think that's absolutely genius and I love it. And I think it's exactly what Impact Urban is all about.
You know what? I think as well, what I want to say to the, entrepreneurs that are listening, because we can lose sight of this. And I think this is an important message. Before my business moved online, I had a bricks and mortar studio, right? I was a personal trainer, I had all this space. And I never once questioned how I was growing my business, right? I never got caught up in the bells and the whistles and the things and the stuff. And then I moved online and I was like, oh my God, I'm getting it wrong. Right. And that's when the chaos started, right? I need an opt-in. I need a thing. I need a widget. I need a this. I need a that. I need courses. And what it comes down to and what we've lost sight of, if you are here as a coach or a healer or a strategist, yes, we want to have a massive impact, but that massive impact comes from working with one person at a time, right? It's the impact that we have on one person. So that first personal training client that I had grew into then two, then grew into, a full practice, which then grew into it's all these little steps. And I think so many people are trying to sidestep the deep work that they have to do in order to create these big raving communities and these big, massive online courses. We look back and we see these people having these huge course launches and stuff. And you don't really know what's going on behind the scenes, one. And if we just put our focus back on how can I impact that one person? How can I speak to that one person? So even when you're doing a live stream, instead of thinking about, how can I have this massive impact? Even with my book, how can I have this massive impact? Of course, we want that. But I keep coming back to how can I impact that one person, right? If we come from that place, you will see exponential growth. Because you take the focus off of you and your stuff and what you want, and you put the focus on how can I help that one person? Because that one person's life or business that you change, they matter. Mm-hmm. They matter. So try and go deeper instead of wide.
Yeah.
Right?
That's so funny you said that. So at the mastermind retreat I was at, One of the things we kept talking about was this whole deep and wide thing. And it was like a total inside joke, but it's the truth, right? It's like you can touch a lot of people, right? But the depth, like there's never, you can't do it wrong. Meaning whether you decide to go deep or you decide to go wide, like you can't get it wrong, right? And it's the service. Like it really is about that service. And so I love like everything you've said. And I just want to share here because I am a strategist, like I think about things like a strategist a lot. And what you just said there was like, you know, you had helped that and serve that one client and it became 2 clients and it became 3 clients, right? And so when you are focused on service, you automatically grow.
Yes.
Like that can be your strategy. Like
that is the strategy, right? Like what is the strategy? Focus on that one person. And yeah, like a bucket, you know, like I can hear the rain outside, right? I could put a bucket outside and by the end of the day, that bucket will be full, but it'll be full because one drop of rain at a time fell in the bucket. And we are so we're so focused on the outcome and the results that we want to get that we're failing to miss that the importance is in that every single drop in the bucket, whether it's the one live stream, the one life you touch, the one action you take in your business, the one tantrum you let yourself have, all of those things make up the success. That is the success. It's not the outcome. It's the journey. It's the process. And if we can stay in the process and really be our best coach, right? Like be our best wingman in the process. Oh, you'll find so much more ease in your business when you relax into that. There's nowhere you need to get to. And I can tell you after almost 2 decades of being an entrepreneur, I'm still not there because I've realized there is no there. There's nowhere to get to because it's what's here is today. This is what I get to enjoy. I get to enjoy doing these interviews today. I get to connect with some clients today. Like this is all I have. This is there today. That's it.
So good. And such words of wisdom. Thank you so much for sharing everything you've shared today. If people want to get your book, like where can they go get it? Like tell us the details.
They can find it. So we're in our kind of, you know, it launches on February 20th of 2018. So I know this podcast will live on. They can go over to lisacarpenter.ca/book launch. And whether it's, you know, pre that date or after that date, you'll still find the information that you need. Or of course, you can find it directly on Amazon after February 20th. So I'm excited and terrified.
Yay. I'm so excited for
you. A mix of everything.
Yeah. And I love that you've shared that journey so transparently. And you know, thank you so much. I absolutely love your work. I'll definitely be getting a copy.
Thank you.
And I'm excited to share as I read it. I always share like what I'm looking at, what I'm reading, like what I'm experiencing and what I'm learning. So I'm sure there will be more talk about this.
Yeah, it's going to, you know, I appreciate you bringing me on. I'm always very grateful when people are willing to share me with their audience. I do not take that privilege lightly because, you know, the people we align with, our community, speaks volumes about who we are in the world as well. So thank you for having me on and having this conversation. And I appreciate you.
Thank you. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Head on over to impactdrivenentrepreneur.com where you can find an arsenal of videos, blog posts, and previous podcast episodes to help you increase your profit and impact. Again, impactdrivenentrepreneur.com and click on blog. Enjoy.